Thank you so much for your insightful talk, sir. It was really informative and beneficial to us. Thank you once again, sir. We now move on to our next speaker, Dr. Ajish K. Abraham. Dr. Ajish K. Abraham is the Dean and Professor of All India Institute of Speech and Hearing, Mysuru, an autonomous institute under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India. He is currently serving as the coordinator of the Center for Rehabilitation Engineering, Acoustics and Biomedical Engineering, as well as Center for Augmentative and Alternative Communication and Sign Language at the Center of Excellence. He completed his PhD from University of Mysore and postdoctoral training from the University of California, San Diego, USA, on a fellowship awarded by the Indian Council of Medical Research. Professor Ajish has also undergone postdoctoral training in electroacoustics from the Virulkæter University, Denmark. He has actively been involved in developing assistive technology and augmentative and alternative communication devices for the rehabilitation of persons with communication disorders. Currently, he is serving as a member of the project review and steering group set by the Ministry of Electronics and Informative Technology, Government of India, for the project entitled Design and Development of Dhwani, Advanced Indigenous Mixed Signal Bluetooth-enabled hearing aids, implemented by IIT Madras and CDAC Thiruvananthapuram. Professor Ajish has been serving as a member of the Acoustics Sectional Committee of the Bureau of the Indian Standards (BIS) for the last 20 years and has played a significant role in developing Indian standards for hearing aids. He is also a member of the Hearing Aids Working Group of the International Electoral Commission, the global standardization body for hearing aids. Professor Ajish is also the Vice President of Acoustical Society of India. We are very happy to have you among us today, sir. I kindly request you to address the gathering.
Good morning, all of you, and many thanks to Leta Madam for giving me this opportunity to be here with you today. First of all, I should congratulate you for selecting this topic to commemorate the memory of Dr. M.G. Ramchandran. Standardization is a topic which no one attempts to have as a topic for the seminar. First thing is that it's so boring to deliberate on standard. Second thing is that the awareness about standards is very rare, and any user of an assistive device in our country is not at all bothered about the standard. They are only bothered about the functional capabilities of the device and the functional assistance which the device give in their day-to-day activities. But the standards are very important to have a qualitative assistance to the day-to-day living of persons with disabilities. So I once again congratulate Madam for selecting this topic. Through this seminar, we are paying homage to the great legendary, and my connection with Dr. MGR is that his wife, Vaikam Narayani Janaki, is from my hometown in Kerala, Vaikam. So, and Vaikam is the only place in Kerala where we have a statue of Dr. MGR with Janaki Madam. And whenever I have to go to my house, I have to see that statue, pay homage, and go. So maybe by accident you have called me for this seminar, but it truly connects my respect and homage to Dr. MGR. Now, I come from the All India Institute of Speech and Hearing, Mysuru, which is a premier institute under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, working for persons with communication disorders. And it is my second opportunity to be here in this institution. First, when Madam conducted NCED, I got an opportunity to give a lecture to the audience here, and this is the second opportunity. And the topic given to me is to talk on the standards in hearing and audiology. So I try to limit my presentation to be very brief. And these are the points which I would try to touch upon. First, we'll see the importance of this standard for a hearing aid user or for a professional who is working in the field of hearing and audiology. Then we'll see the list of standards in this area. Then we move on to one of the important standards, BIS standards in this area, that's about the hearing aids. And we'll see the significance of these standards as far as a hearing aid user is concerned. So, morning, the keynote speaker has already mentioned the importance of standards. And as far as a hearing or an individual with hearing impairment is concerned, the standard ensures the safety, performance, and the quality of the devices which has to be used for hearing care. And the knowledge of these standards help us to bridge the technology and education. Now, this is very important for special educators because most of the uh, audience here, majority of the audience here, belong to the field of special education. So it's very important. I always consider special educators as a bridge between the persons with communication disorder and the technology, because we have a preschool in our early intervention center in our campus where we have 600 children and 40 special educators. So whenever we want to bridge the gap between technology and the user, it is the special educators we approach. And with their help only, we are able to move ahead. So as a special educator, it is very important for you to have a knowledge about these standards, a very basic knowledge. And this is going to help uh, you to advocate the safe and appropriate use of hearing aids for the students. It also helps you to improve the auditory access and learning outcomes. It also helps you in monitoring the device performance of the children in your class, and also help you in setting the goals in individualized education planning. Now, moving on to the importance of standards, uh, hearing aid is a very common device which persons with hearing impairment use in our country. So there are many studies in the Western world who keep on investigating about how beneficial are these hearing aids to their daily life, including children going up to the elderly people. But there are very few studies in our country which has done investigation in this. So I have two studies here to quote. The first study was done by a team from Haryana, Gurgaon. They conducted study on 164 patients or 164 users of hearing aids. And they were in the age group of 50 to 70 years. So the study says that 54% of the subjects, they were dissatisfied with their hearing aid because they were frustrated because of the unwanted sound which is produced by hearing aid. Now, the second study I would like to quote is another one which was conducted in the Bark Hospital, Mumbai. And this also highlights the importance of discomfort faced by the users of this hearing. Now, it's a little bit of what you call, it's a little bit difficult to say that even in this advanced stage of technology, people are not getting 100% satisfaction about the hearing aids. Morning we heard Dr. Sanjay Wadhwa mentioning that no one uses a wheelchair which fully satisfies him. And the same is the case with the hearing aid. No one uses a hearing aid which 100% satisfies him. So at this point, the importance of standardization and importance of quality gets highlighted. Now, moving on to the next section of my presentation, which are the BIS standards in hearing aid or audiology, in hearing and audiology. There are 5 standards as far as BIS is concerned. There are 5 standards related to hearing and audiology. The first 2 are about the hearing aids. The standard for 2000 standards for behind the ear hearing aid was framed in the year 2013, and the standard for body level hearing aid was framed in the year 1984. Now, the first behind the ear hearing aid was launched in the world in the year 1956, and the Indian standards came in the year 2013. You might be wondering why this gap. This gap is definitely because the the manufacturing of these devices in India were very limited till 2001 or 2002. After that, some of the manufacturers started manufacturing these hearing aids, and hence the need of standards arose. Earlier, we were all using imported products, and they were already standardized. They had CE certification, they had ISO certification, they have European standard certification. So there was no need to have an Indian standard for hearing aids. But because of the make in India manufacturing, the local production, which has happened here after 2000, the need for standards have come. Standards also exist for the hearing testing device. The moment you have a hearing problem, the device which tests your hearing capability is the audiometer. Again, there is no BIS standard for the audiometer as such, because 99% of the audiometers which we use in our country for testing are imported ones. So there we have imported the standards also along with that. So there is no BIS standards for that. But BIS standards is there for calibration of the audiometers to maintain the quality of output of the audiometer or the quality of the testing of audiometer intact. So these 3 standards which you see on the screen are basically to keep the calibration of the audiometer, which is for hearing testing. Now we have standards for audiology practice. Audiology practice standards includes the environment in which the hearing testing is done. We call it as audiometric test rooms, where the hearing test is done. So for that, there is a standard. Again, we are adopting the foreign standards. There is no BA standard for that. So we are adopting the standard which is developed by ANSI, American National Standard Institute, or the International Organization for Standardization, ISO standards for that purpose. Again, as I mentioned, for calibration of the equipment, we use the foreign standards. Now, out of these 5 standards, BAS standards, which we have, I thought the most important one is the standards for hearing aids. And I would take another 5-10 minutes to give you an overview about the standards for these hearing aids. Before that, we'll have just an overview about the hearing aids. So all of us knows that the function of a hearing aid is to make the sounds hear better. When I say make the sounds hear better, there are 2 components in that. First is the audibility, that you're able to hear the sound. And second is the intelligibility. So now I'm speaking and you're all able to hear me. And you're able to comprehend what I'm saying because I'm using a language which is known to both of us. If I start speaking in my mother tongue, you'll be able to hear me, but you will not be able to comprehend what I say unless you know my language. The same is the case with hearing aid. Hearing aid has a dual role to play. First is sound should be audible, and second thing is that there should be clarity in the sound. Sound should be intelligible also. So no longer we consider hearing aid as a simple amplifier, as a simple box. We consider hearing aid as a processor. So it has a microphone, a small microphone like this inside the hearing aid, which will pick up the sound, convert it into an electrical signal. After that, there is a processor. It's a very capable processor, almost the same type of processor which you have in your mobile, such a complex processor inside that small hearing aid. And after the hearing aid processes it based on your hearing requirement, that's why you see an audiogram there. So based on the audiogram, based on your hearing capability, the processor is tuned, and then the processed sound comes out through the small receiver which goes into the ear. Now, when we say BTE hearing aid or behind the ear hearing aid, or BA standards are for only two models of hearing aids. One is for the body worn hearing aid, and second is for the behind the ear hearing aid. So when we talk about behind the ear hearing aid, the standards are for behind the ear hearing aids, and this standard comes with the number IS 16127 2013. So the standard document bifurcates the standard requirements into small subheadings. So we will quickly go through these subheadings. The first one in the standard, what it says is about the general requirements of the hearing aid. Okay, and in this, the first one is the guiding principles of design. So this is where the importance of Indian standards comes. So when we consider the guiding principles for design, the design requirements for our country will be different, whereas the design requirements for a Western country would be totally different. The first guiding principle says that it should not produce feedback. So when I say feedback, you must have seen children in your class using hearing aids. Whenever they use it, you must have heard the whistling sound, sound coming out of the hearing aid, which is called feedback. Okay, so that is because when the output of the hearing aid is going back to the microphone, and when that cycle repeats, it leads to that whistling sound. So the design should be such a way that this feedback should be avoided. So if I take this microphone and go near that speaker, immediately it will start howling. The reason is the closeness of the microphone to the speaker. So in design, you have to make all efforts to keep the microphone isolated from the earphone in the hearing aid. So that is principle number one, which is given in the standards. The second is about the minimization of interference. Okay, so when a person wears the hearing aid, he would be using several other electrical equipments. For example, a microwave oven or a mixie. So when the mixie or oven starts, the hearing aid should not have any interference. It should not have a hissing sound through the hearing aid. So that has to be taken care in the design. The third and the most important one is that it should minimize the effect due to body sweating. So this is one of the common problem in our country, especially in the southern part of the country and the coastal area. So one of the reason for the hearing aid to go out of order is the sweat which goes into the hearing aid. So nowadays we get waterproof hearing aids. Waterproof hearing aids doesn't mean that the hearing aid is totally proof to water. Okay, so it has some kind of resistance to prevent water. So that so if a hearing aid without waterproofing, it goes out of order within 3 months. A hearing aid with waterproofing will go out of order after 6 months. That is the only thing. Okay, so no one can make a hearing aid which is completely waterproof. Is another guideline which our BAS specifically gives to the hearing aid manufacturers, which is not there in the Western standards. Now, another principle of design is the battery placement. You all know that the hearing aid works on a small battery, which we put it into our watches. And when we have to put it battery onto the hearing aid, the user has to do himself, because the life of a hearing aid battery is hardly 3 days or 4 days. So every 4 days, once in every 4 days, the battery has to be replaced. So when you replace the battery has a polarity. You know that whenever you put batteries to your torch lights or something, you always see for that polarity. Here, the battery is very small. It's very difficult to identify the polarity. So the hearing aid should be designed in such a way that the battery will go only in that direction where the positive and negative currently matches. The polarity reversal should not be there. And then the next design guideline is about the sharp corners. So this is worn behind the ear, is always in touch with your pinna and the mastoid here. The skin which is on the back side of your pinna and the skin which is on your mastoid are very sensitive areas. If you keep rubbing it 2-3 times, it becomes red in color. So it's that sensitive. So it has to be the case of the hearing aid has to be designed in such a way that there are no sharp corners in that. The next three guidelines in the design guidelines is about the power supply, the housing, and the external case of the hearing aid. So we use a battery, small battery here. You can see the small batteries there. The power of that battery is 1.3 volts. Okay, so that is also a part of the standard. Then it has got a cabinet, the housing. The housing has got a battery compartment, and you can see that the maximum dimensions are also defined. So since it is behind the ear, the purpose of having it behind the ear is that it should be completely covered by your pinna. It should not be visible outside. So you have to follow a minimum set of dimensions, a particular length, a particular width, and a thickness. So these figures which are shown on the screen are the maximum dimensions. You cannot manufacture a hearing aid whose dimensions are larger than this. And there is a ceiling on the mass of the hearing aid also, because you are taking the entire weight of the hearing aid on your pinna. So if it is more heavy, what happens is it put pressure on your pinna, and the pinna becomes divergent to the other side. So there is a ceiling on the mass of that. And then there is a standard for the external case also. This case is very important because a person with hearing aid, when he goes to sleep, the hearing aid is removed and it is put in this box. So this box is also covered under the standard. The next set of guidelines from the standard is about the controls. See, now you're wearing the hearing aid here. It has got certain controls. So these are the three major controls which will be there in all the type of hearing aids, irrespective of the manufacturer. It has an on-off switch. So usually the on-off switch is coming along with the battery compartment. The moment you put the battery into the compartment, push the compartment in, the hearing aid is on. The second one is the volume control, gain control, which is very important. So for a hearing aid user, the environment in which he lives or the type of sounds which the hearing aid receives, he doesn't have any control. Okay, so when you're here in this hall, you are listening to a particular range of sound. When you go out to a temple, there will be huge sound because of the loud sound systems there. When you go to a bus stand or railway station, it's a different environment. Okay, so the type of sounds which come into the hearing aid doesn't have any control. The only way the user can control this is with the help of this volume control. So that is also specified in the standards. Next important thing is, what the standard specifies is about the marking. So if you see that hearing aid, the model number is specified, the manufacturer's name is there. So all as per BAS standards, this has to be there on the housing of the hearing aid. So the marking should have the name of the manufacturer, model, and serial number. Now, coming to the last part of this standards, the hearing aid has to undergo certain tests. And the standard says that these tests has to be done at the manufacturer level, and the values of these tests have to be satisfied for each and every hearing aid. So 5 parameters they have mentioned. So I'll put it in very simple way, which are these parameters and how these parameters are related to the quality of hearing aid. The first 2 parameters which you see in blue color, that tells about the maximum output which can come from a hearing aid. Now, all of you use your mobiles to listen music, and when you start playing music on your mobiles, when you increase the volume beyond a particular point, it gives you a message that the loudness above this is harmful to the ears. Do you want to go ahead? The same thing has to be there in the hearing aids, because we say that an output of 135 dB and above are harmful to the ears. Now we have to make sure that when a hearing aid is manufactured, whatever is the input to the hearing aid, the output from the hearing aid should not cross that 135 dB. So the first 2 parameters ensures that whatever is the input to the hearing aid, the output doesn't cross that particular value. So the hearing aid has to have built-in features to control this the same way as our mobile controls the output. The next 3 parameters, the frequency range, the gain, and the harmonic distortion, are parameters which decides the quality of output through the hearing aid. Okay, so now the sounds which we hear are in the frequency range of 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. The hearing aid should respond to all these frequencies and give us a clear hearing. But what happens is, because of some limitations, the hearing aids are not capable of working above frequencies 4 kilohertz. Now, how does this matter to a hearing aid user? One example I'll say, we use different sounds. Okay, so when I say ah, the frequency of that sound is in the range of 800 to 1000 hertz. When I say ish sound is a very high frequency sound. It has a range from 2500 to 7500 hertz. So if my hearing aid is not capable to work at 7500 hertz, I'll miss that ish word. So when I pronounce the word cashew, that, just imagine if that sound ish is missed, how would it sound to you? So when your teachers write on the board CASHEW, cashew, and tell the child to pronounce cashew, the child with the hearing aid will always pronounce it as caillou, because he's not listening to that ish. Okay, so that is why, that is the importance of this parameter in the standard. So this parameter frequency range ensures that all sounds are equally heard through the hearing aid. The next one is the gain and distortion. Now, distortion in very simple way, it is like this. Now, you're all listening to me through this speaker system, right? And when you listen to me through that speaker, the sound which I originally speak and the sound which comes out through the speaker are more or less same. Then we say that the distortion is 0. But if the sound which you hear from the speaker is totally different from what the way I speak, then you say that distortion is there. Most of the hearing aids have got this problem of distortion. Okay, so when you hear sound through the hearing aid, it will not be the natural sound which you hear with your ears. It will be a distorted sound. And if it crosses beyond a particular limit or particular percentage, it can create problems for your child. He will listen to different words in a different way, which will affect his language learning capabilities. Okay, so this was in short about the standard for behind the ear hearing aid. So what we have seen today is about the standards in hearing and audiology, the BIS standards which are there for our country. We have seen an overview of the hearing aid also. And we have seen the BAS standards for BT hearing aids, which are the general requirements covered under the standard, and what is the significance of the test parameters and performance. So with this, I once again thank Madam for this opportunity to be here with you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for the informative and engaging talk. Now I request the students to kindly felicitate Dr. Ajish K. Abraham.